Greetings, everybody. How we doing?
Doing all right.
Doing fine.
That's always a good thing to hear. Well, as always, my thanks for your time and enjoying this hobby of ours. This is the inaugural episode, the inaugural live play for the Brew, a Monsters by Night, a kindred story. Each of you have spent the last few days, last few weeks gathering your characters and building their connections to each other and to the city. That is no small feat, because our characters, much like ourselves, have, well, being relatively modern beings, have become insulated and isolated in the realities of their makings. So making a connection with anyone, real or imagined, is a difficult prospect. But a few points to raise. We will be exploring no small amount of dark themes. Those of you who've played with me as your storyteller understands that we will paint in the abstract. We will hint at, we will point towards the darkness that is all around these characters and their lives, and we will explore those dark moments of oftentimes failure, oftentimes frustration, and traumatic events together, safely ensconced in the faith and belief that we can rely on each other to get through it, to hold the molten lava of their existence in our hands and enjoy the moment that we share, all of those feelings, all of those moments, all of those thoughts and inspirations. And then at the end of play, gently, safely set them down and reveal to ourselves that we are unscathed for having delved into their darkness. We've escaped our world for theirs. And the second thing, and by far the most important thing, we want to have fun, and that begins with a foundation of risking that trust in ourselves and in our peers. So, welcome to the Brew, our first episode, which will be titled, did anyone pay attention? Did anyone take notes? For the record, while we are here in our soft opening, the title of the episode is The Brew, Season 1, Welcome to Brew City, Episode 1, Thus Always. As far as the setting, I'm sure you've all taken notes and dived into that, but Milwaukee is unlike most other kindred cities, and as like all of the other kindred cities, in the fact that within the community of the kindred, the monsters rule the roost. The inmates are running the asylum, and the largest, strongest, wiliest of inmates is the top of the heap. In the military is one of those callbacks to the top kick. Not that no one else does have the ability to kick ass and take names, but the top kick is the one that you must be aware of. For when they decide to dish out and dole out what they believe you deserve, you will thank them for the pain and ask for another. Back in the late 90s, Milwaukee was, well, dancing on the razor's edge of complete and total meltdown. Milwaukee was in such a state of disarray that most of the kindred present engaged in flight, even with all of the risk of getting on the road, even with all of the risk hopping on a train, even with all of the risk of walking into Lake Michigan and praying that nothing larger than you, stronger than you, darker than you, swallowed you whole. The roads have always been dangerous for the kindred. travel has always been dangerous for kindred. However, due to the very peculiarities of the Milwaukee area, travel into and out of the city is by far even more dangerous. Luckily, air travel is a little safer. Luckily, there are ways to do so and escape the maelstrom that was the city. Unfortunately, that came with cost, that came with value, that came with resources that many kindred did not want to lose. It's just because you escape the sinking ship doesn't mean that the sharks in the water won't get you. So, moving south into the gleaming jewel of the Camarilla, Chicago, was typically out of the question. You were a medium to a small size fish moving into a great big ocean of larger, more pernicious, hungrier fish. Going north to Canada also held its own risk because for the most part, Canada is the great northern waste. The kindred there, even those not directly affiliated with the Sabbat, have a certain independence. Well, no kindred that has made it into Canada has ever returned. No kindred that has survived the trip has ever returned in person. So that was out for most. That left points due west or dealing with it. And the vast majority of kindred, predisposed as they are to never changing, never leaving, decided to put up with it. There was one kindred who did not. The leader of the Anubi, the champion protector of all that was Milwaukee and all that Milwaukee could be. They reached out to their local resources, names that have gone down in infamy and legend from Chicago and points due south. They reached out to their associates of associates and allies within the inner council of the Camarilla itself. The resounding answer from most came back as, "You made the bed, lie in it, otherwise we will come down and burn the entirety of your house down." So he did what all people who are desperate and hopeful do. He put his nose to the grindstone, called in every favor he could, got every strength of arms he could manage, and he did the unthinkable. He unseated and separated the head from the body of the beast. He deposed Prince Merrick. He decimated and broke into pieces the council, the primogen of the city. He wrestled and maintained all semblance of control into one singular place, his hands. He strengthened the Anubi, granting them police powers above and beyond any other entity in the city save himself. He instituted a program of judges, kindred who were held to be unbiased and unparalleled in their decision-making abilities to protect the city. In short, your life doesn't matter. Your immortality doesn't matter. What does matter is the longevity and posterity of Milwaukee as a whole. As long as you serve that, you have the rest of forever. As long as you bend knee and back towards protecting the ideals of Milwaukee, you may exist forever. And most importantly, on top of all of that, with all the favors called in, with all of the impossible actions he pulled off, he united what kindred remained towards protecting the Maine from all invaders, foreign, domestic, and most pressingly, lupine. Mages, wool workers, changeling, spirits, the hoary legions of the unbridled barbaric lupines, each and every challenger to the domestic tranquility of Milwaukee, slaughtered or driven from the city. But because nothing was built to last, nothing determined to remain immortal, policies were put into place to ensure that if you're not pulling for Chicago, for Milwaukee, if you're not pulling for the Camarilla, if you have any outwardly expressed ideologies, ideas, notions, or whims that threatens the city as a whole, you are treated as the most treasonous entity to ever exist, with all due prejudice and violence that comes with such a prognostication. And it's been a long time since the 90s. In that time, Milwaukee has grown. In that time, Milwaukee has made connections to and alliances with all manner of other city-states, still remaining in the shadow of Chicago, but finding its own identity as the penultimately safe space for kindred. Well, as safe as being immortal and dealing with predators far greater, stronger, and more determined than you can ever be. But all of that changed. Slightly. Enough that it matters to those who resisted in the peaceful praxis of Prince Decker. Last year, one of the most trusted members of the Anubi was revealed to have been plotting a coup. It was revealed that he was playing the long game in service to the anarch movement, his ideal to eventually usurp and depose Prince Decker and turn Milwaukee into an anarch-free state, a spitting distance from Chicago, able to launch as many attacks as is necessary, all from the safety of 2 hours away. In that same time, Prince Decker's youngest, most vibrant child was kidnapped and slaughtered, her immortality taken from her. The blow was severe enough that he has not recovered. He has not returned to the same glory and unbridled passion for protection of the city that he once had. He is in fact a broken kindred, though none would have the audacity to say so to his face, or where others might inform on them for doing so. But the telltale signs are clear. The ash epidemic has grown to epic proportions. There are whispers that there are dustborn amassing in the shadows, keeping stock and eye on the kindred of Milwaukee. There are rumors that the heretofore quiet, unassuming Hakata have completed their civil war and are unified towards a singular goal, though no one knows what that goal might actually be. And most pressingly, the Lupines have returned. During the same period of time where Kawa was revealed to be a traitor, and honor was taken from the city and from immortality, the Lupines returned, along with the Knights of St. Judas and several other hunting organizations. Several other witch hunters have been seen throughout the city. Some of their actions have proven to be far more successful than they should have ever been possible. And with such a chaotic setting, with such a understanding as to the lay of the land as it is now, are there any questions, suggestions, or hypotheses? Or are there simply any corners we need to round off?
Seems like the city's getting fucked on every single corner.
There's quite a few that's not happening. Some corners actually charge for such services. Well, that being the case,
Is everyone here? Are we missing someone?
we are missing Millie.
It looks like.
Millie has not quite made it in just yet.
And speak of the devil.
There she is.
There's Millie. All right.
I do apologize for my lateness. My uncle, which had been missing for 20 years, was found today. And while we're happy he's alive, he had a stroke, so he might not survive.
Oh dear.
But I'm going to do my best to focus on this and let that distract me for the evening, so.
Okay. I am sorry. I wish there was more that we could do, but hopefully a few moments of play and taking your mind off of our reality will help some. As always, my thanks. From the top of my mind to the bottom of my heart, I am appreciative for all of your efforts and your time towards this hobby of ours. I'm very, very, very penultimately pleased and glad that you all are here. This is not an easy thing for most of us to steal the time to tend to ourselves and have an escape. So all of your help in doing so, all of your donated time, energies, and thoughts are greatly appreciated. Outside of the initial opening volley as to the setting and where we'll approximately begin, are there any questions, suggestions, hypotheses, or corners we need to round off?
I guess I did have one quick question. Where exactly in the timeline are we relative to the other games? Are we assuming that Milwaukee is like happening at the same time as the other ones, or is this like maybe a few months back or something? I just want to get a rough estimate.
Rough estimate. For those of you, Kindred, who were out and about last night, there was the most obvious display of the newbie moving across the city, responding to information being given them. For those of you who had paid attention to the map, it was clear that they were heading towards the Washington Heights, Washington Highlands uptown area, which for those of you who are locals, you know that is unofficially hands off as far as the rest of the tower is concerned. There is a contract of non-interference with the Hakata. It has been in place forever and remains in place, not just here, but throughout the entirety of every Camarilla city. Milwaukee is no different in that regard. However, it very much seemed as if the Anubi were heading towards that direction. especially for those of you who bothered to tune in to DJ Barth's podcast. Those of you who turned on your radios to his pirated station, his pirated channel, you know that there were a non-stop ticker tape of information, sightings of hunting parties, and oh my God, was that Hroth? Was that? Oh my God, that and the like filtering across the line. And as always, in his inimitable way, his very soft jock mannerisms, DJ Barth relayed the information in the coded speech that all kindred who tune in have grown accustomed to. Initially, the thoughts and ideas were that they were heading towards the Midtown area, which is purportedly the domain of those Chicago kindred that were granted domain within Milwaukee. But then there were other sightings of them moving past Washington Park. They were moving past Walnut Hill. They were heading towards, was that Sherman Park? No, was that Wickfield? No, they're heading towards the Washington Heights area, which, as you all know, is a no-fly zone. Yet that very much seemed to be where they were headed.
I'm gonna step away from my laptop for a moment. I'll be back in a second.
All right, sounds like a plan. So, any other questions? No? Excellent. Silence is always a good thing for a start, typically, because we have a relationship of trust, and if there's any issues, I understand that you all will relay them. And so, without much further delay, without much further ado, let's tell a vampire story, shall we? The night begins like any other. Dark. There's a switch thrown separating what was from what is, but in that time of that switch throwing, unlike human sleep, kindred die for the day. The passing of time is nothing to them. There's literally one unending night that they exist within, if they're lucky. Those few kindred who have been given the curse of dreams, those few kindred who have an opportunity of seeing and experiencing time unlike any other, were cursed, gifted with the susurrus snores of wolves. They were gifted the presence and feel of dander across their skin. They were given the feel of hot, heavy, angry breath in their face while they were dead. They were given the image of their eyes snapping open just in time to see monstrously large jaws clamping down on their heads, ending their existence in one crunching bite. So unlike the bulk of us kindred gathered for the evening, those few amongst us with the ability to see into the myriad possibilities of forever did not die peacefully, did not rest with any semblance of peace. So much so that upon wakening, about rousing, about resurrecting for the evening, there is still the very real panic that each shadow holds a pair of angry amber eyes waiting for you merely to step close enough to spring, to pounce, to end your existence with the stomach-filling chomp and crunch of bone. For those others of us outside of Cassandra, But everyone be so kind as to go ahead and roll your rouse roll. There's several ways to do that in the dice channel. I have grown accustomed in the last few days to playing around with it to use our alternative die roller, which is the /dice roll, and then you enter in the number of dice you are rolling, and then tab over and tab over and tab over. You can also use Incanu if you don't want to use Realm of Darkness, but there are a myriad of die rollers there for you to choose. All right, so we're off to a rousing start, and yes, the pun was directly on purpose, because as expected, the most bestial of us, when resurrecting for the evening, while not having that fear and that understanding that the shadows mean death, have the blissed understanding of our beast crawling closer to the surface, demanding satiation. And while it is a non-stop diatribe that is spews and spits from the back of one's mind, its voice has grown louder, its presence closer to the surface, its pleas and cajoling turning more and more like demands. So, we will begin in alphabetical order. Just as an example, Aaron, what sort of evening ablations would you and your loyal manservant be about this evening, with your eyes springing awake to the dark?
Assuming that he's not one who would have experienced what you described earlier, then his typical routine when getting up for the evening is basically select an appropriate outfit for the day, depending on if he has any meetings. Typically, he tries to dress to impress that specific client. Usually, his ghoul will have some refreshment prepared for him. I assume that Aaron would have perhaps purchased at least a few vintages from the circulatory system just in case he ever felt hungry when he woke up. But actually, wait, he did not increase in hunger. My bad. So he would not need refreshments this evening. Beyond that, they would just go over their itinerary for the evening, see what meetings they have, and proceed from there.
So, unlike most kindred, most specifically, unlike most Ventru, Aaron relies on his wealth to create the safety one normally needs from hunters and prying neighbors and what have you. Residing where he does at the towers there on north of Van Buren, he is fairly well ensconced. There's not much in the neighborhood in regards to real, honest, earnest, actual threats, because right there at Van Buren and Ogden, it's a fairly metropolitan area. His nearest neighbor is the tower on the same plot, which abuts the condominium tower in which he resides. It is a major intersection for public transit. There's a Starbucks, there's a Chipotle, there's Panera, there's, an entire actual indoor, slightly outdoor mall, the East Point Marketplace, literally a block north. So the area is filled with kind, but there's a rarefied air, one, for being able to afford a place as centrally located as it is. Lower East Side is a fairly expensive area. It's the sort of place where it's chic to seem poorer than you actually are. There's lots of old money that made the move from the suburbs into the downtown area, being closer to the financial centers. In fact, on a good day, or if he was able to do so, he could easily walk to BMO Towers, which is one of the city's financial centers. The top 10 floors of the tower are filled with major hubs of financial industry, banks, lending agents, all the like. All of the whole money, greed is good institutions have their headquarters there at BMO Towers. And from his bathroom window, if he so chose, on a clear day, he could see the top of that tower just south and west, standing as a prime example as to why it's such a good thing to be venture, why it's necessary to control the major centers of human power, which all come down to money. And as ever, as he makes his ablations, making sure his clothing is spick spot and absolutely perfect, he can hear his servant singing under his breath as he prepares the evening's notes, what must be accomplished, what absolutely can't wait, and everything else that can, in order of importance based on Aaron's suggestions from the previous night or the previous weeks. It's not until he stops singing, humming, mostly under his breath, mostly to himself, that Aaron bothers to pay closer attention. Well, no, that's odd. Coming from his office draws his attention. So dressed in shirt sleeves and slacks, his vest and blazer still not quite properly appointed, he makes his way into his office, where his manservant has several itineraries, and he's frowning as he's looking down at them. Oh, Master Hamilton, good evening.
Good evening. Something troubling you?
Yes, there's a minor issue. One of your charges has somehow managed to have this delivered to us. And he opens up a letter and hands it to you. It is in fact from one of the coteries to the from the northwest side of the city, out past Capitol Heights, up in the Tiburon West section of the city. Near Land Bank, there is a group of, you want to say anarchs, but they're not. You want to say that in the old days, they would have been anarchs, because what everyone fails to realize or chooses to ignore is that initially, and very much still, with the core group of anarchs, they were part of the Camarilla. They sought change to the systems that in play. Instead of it being a pyramid scheme where those at the top stand on those beneath them, they were hoping to change so that there was more of a meritocracy, that with strength, skill, one could rise through the ranks as a whole. They wanted to make room for themselves and those that came behind them. All of those things went by the wayside during the many wars and still unresolved battles left over from the 90s. The anarchs have become their own sect. They have abandoned their close fraternal associations with the Camarilla. But those in the know, those who have been around long enough, understand that at core, at its root, the anarchs are the disaffected children of the Camarilla. They are now what the Camarilla has forced them to become. So instead of seeking to better the tower, they seek to strengthen the anarch movement to completely, at the end of the day, obliterate the tower. But all the same, you hope they'll come around to the right way of thinking. You hope that they will see the light and not continue down the path of destruction. And you've been trying to mentor them. You've been trying to bring them more in line. You've been trying to teach them the history without sounding like a doddering old fool. And yet, here you are. A letter. A missive. And as you crack it open and begin to read, Amalia, there is a cost to doing business. There is a pressing concern, as is always the case. Nothing comes from nothing. It's one of the few things that you've learned, one of the few things that you've mastered. You vote with your feet. You vote with your presence and your willingness to do. Luckily, not many things force you to do anything you don't want. So rousing for the evening, rising for the evening, the beast, its ever-present, non-stop self whispering in your ear, no louder nor softer than usual. There are several places that you found over the last few weeks that, well, to be perfectly honest, call to you. You've heard a few of the kids singing in the neighborhoods that you've traipsed through. Something about, can you hear me? A silent voice that only you can hear and you won't give into it, blah, 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 so forth and so on. Something about voices and Brunos and rats and God knows what else, but you find a kinship with that notion of something hidden, something just beneath the surface that keeps calling out to you. There is, in Capitol Heights, there is a huge building unlike any other. It is a building so large that it covers roughly a quarter of a mile. It goes from Capitol all the way over to 145 and down 60th. In that building are several other buildings. There's a Wingstop, a Pick and Save, there's Foreman Mills, there's a Dollar Tree. It's an indoor mall, but it's not a mall. Initially, back during the late 50s, early 60s, the nuclear craze was at an all-time high. And the city's founders, the stewards of the city, decided to build certain places that could, if pressed, if pushed, if things hit the fan, that they could save a certain portion of the city. So they built these places, these large factories which reinforced infrastructure. They built these bomb shelters, some below ground, many above ground, and in the most innocuous of places, easy to get to, easy to get away from. This particular one is one such building. Save it has been repurposed several hundred times since its building, since its construction. What most people don't realize is underneath there is a veritable kingdom of forgotten nooks and crannies, and all easy enough to access if one is wily enough and wary enough. And unfortunately, you are all of those things.
Well, lovely. So, if that's the case, Mal, as she wakes for the evening, would dress in something a little more circumspect, able to slip in and out of places. Nice black and navies. Not too shabby. She wouldn't want to not blend in. And she will gather her belongings, her camera, and her bags, and hop in her Jeep and head that way.
The beauty of it being easy to get to is that it is in fact easy to get to. You can take 145, you can take 190, you can take several of the major routes in, through, and around the neighborhood to the city. The problem with it being easy to get to, it means that you will definitively pass through several, well, to put it politely, problematic areas. Staying where you do in the Fernwood area of the city, just south of Bayview, closer to the Texas Rock there at Lake Michigan. You've grown accustomed to having to smile and nod and seem unthreatening as you've passed several checkpoints through the city, especially in and around the Story Hill area. There's a veritable non-stop 100% surveillance net thrown over that area. One, because it's a major tourist area because of the brewers, but also two, because it's the gateway to the county zoo. It's the gateway to the speedway. It is the hub of most of the major expressways. 175, 94. Moving through that area, you can catch and will catch nearly everyone. So Prince Decker and the Anubi have several nets of surveillance over that area, keeping watch on Kindred and Lupin and will workers and all manner of supernatural. So passing through that area is, while not as bad as trying to make it across the Berlin Wall, it is very close. You are walking through Piccadilly Square dressed like a clown, so you have several 100,000 eyes and cameras watching your every step.
The good thing she's cute and unthreatening.
That's the funny thing about Milwaukee. Everything is considered a threat until it is either killed or proven to be unkillable. So heading off for the evening, it is with all due surprise that as you make your way through the Story Hill area to circle back over to 145 and take that down and around, that you don't see many of the watch points and choke points that you've grown accustomed to. You don't see the broken down truck on the side of the road where it normally is, hiding the watchers who are cataloging license plate numbers. You don't see the state trooper which rests there on the embankment as you merge onto 94 to get over to the 45. You don't see the traffic helicopter, which should not be watching traffic at this hour of the evening, but always is. All of those major standout security measures that you've grown accustomed to don't seem to be in place. And that's the hairs on the neck, on your neck, stand on end as you realize that something's changed. Something horrible has changed, because the last time those watchers weren't there, there was a raid on a purported Toreador party at the Pabst Mansion. The last time those watchers weren't there, the Anubi were moving en masse. The last time those watchers weren't there, it was because those forces had been pulled to curtail every potential leak of information from when the Anubi shut down a major harvesting plant for the circulatory system, an illegally operated harvesting plant. So the question is, seeing all of that, is there any intelligence or information system you reach out to find out what's happening or what you may be heading into?
She may flip the radio station to our local favorite, soft, not quite so shock jock, and give that a listen for a moment.
And then she switches over the ever dulcet tones of DJ Barth. Well, it's just 49 minutes after the hour. We're moving into, and that's exactly what Cassandra awakens to. The feeling of hot, heavy breath on her skin. The notion that the shadows hold teeth. The idea that yet again she is dying because something put her in its mouth. And it was nowhere near as pleasurable as the time where the tall, handsome, blonde, blue-eyed kindred held her in his embrace, somehow locking eyes with her as he sunk fangs into her lips and drained all of her into him.
I thought Cassandra Sire was a woman.
Cassandra Sire was. Cassandra Sire is. But it's one of the many, countless visions of their demise that they have experienced. And even though knowing that it was in fact just a vision, a future, a possibility, a probability, it was still pleasurable. The effects of the kiss somehow still reached across, faded and washed out as they were. That sense of release, as everything ceased to be, was still there. However, being drained through the kiss is far more pleasurable than what she experienced last morning. Yesterday, last night. There's nothing like having your head bitten off to send a message. And that's what she felt. She felt wolf teeth. She felt large, monstrous jaws chomping down on her, ending everything that she was, save the pain of it.
I was getting my campaigns mixed up. Okay. As she wakes up, there's that panicked feeling. The visions are coming again. She's had yet another vision of her own demise. At this point, Cassandra's kids would be asleep, and her husband would most likely be getting ready to go to bed himself, as she is just getting up.
And she left the radio on again. Well, DJ Barth has a very typically radio-friendly voice. It is not the most soothing, with images of something dark, hairy, and furry ending your existence. It's 49 out of the hour, and thanks for tuning in to DJ Barth on the line with you. It is not exactly all that enjoyable. It is, his voice is annoying. Why doesn't he just say what he needs to say? All of this coded phrases and all of these people calling in, it almost takes her mind off of her impending doom. Somewhere out there in the night, in some die roll of probabilities, is a huge, furry, wolf-like creature seeking to bite her head off.
And typically when she has these visions, she would contact Nevia, her sire. But she does not normally do so in her house or anywhere where she might be heard by someone who's not exactly a child of the night. So she'll start to step out and slip into the night where it's less likely, and into her car where it's less likely that she'll be overheard.
Well, the beautiful thing, you know that there is a landline that will reach Nevaeh, just like you know that there's a landline that will reach other members of the Anubi and other judges. There is a landline almost for every major kindred that's manned by various entities. The problem being is, much like yourself, Nevaeh is plagued with visions and potential futures, so she is rarely, if ever, actually at the landline. Though if you trust in your feelings, trust in the emanations that are out there in the world, you know that you will eventually cross her path. You know that Like magnets, you two are drawn towards each other and the same catastrophic events.
And now that Cassandra is by herself, she will attempt to get a hold of Nevia. If she's not able to, she will simply leave a message.
So as you dial the number that you've set aside, maybe calling Casa Maria Hospitality House. How can we help?
Okay, I'm going to use my normal voice for Cassandra. When the line connects, Cassandra asks, "Is Nevia present?"
One moment, please. I'm sorry. The head of housekeeping isn't available currently. May I take a message?
Yes. Tell her that Cassandra called and she needs help interpreting something. She will know what I am referring to.
Of course. And is this the best, most secure line possible to reach you on?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Excellent. We'll pass the message along. Look forward to hearing back from you shortly.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Have a pleasant evening.
Night. And you as well. And with that, Cassandra disconnects. And she starts to take a drive to try to collect herself.
People, and by extension kindred, can grow accustomed to all manner of things. One of the things that you've grown accustomed to over the years is the level of protection and security that blankets the city. There's always someone somewhere watching to keep you and the world at large safe for kindred. At least that's how it's supposed to work. But as you give yourself over to that inexorable pull towards the most chaotic, the most intense, fleeting presence in the city, things are off. There's an eeriness to the night that you can't shake. You don't see the patrol car that normally circles the block. You don't see the repair van that is usually parked near the end of your road. You don't see the usual couple walking the mountain of dogs that they do. You're not sure how such a small couple is able to maintain control over several large hounds that they normally do. They have an Irish wolfhound, there's a Saint Bernard, there's a huge Rottweiler and a Cane Corso. They walk 7 of these monster dogs, and they each weigh no more than 95 pounds at the outside. They each weigh together. They would maybe tip the scale at 180, maybe 182 on a good day. But they're not on the street. All of the usual signs that let you know that everything will be okay, can be okay, seem to be missing.
And it's at this moment where Cassandra will pull over, draw her deck of tarot cards, and do a reading. On specifically, in the reading, she asks herself if she is simply reading too much into things, or if there is actually danger.
And breaking out the cards to take a view of the night, Charlie, it always sucks. There's no if, ands, or buts about it. Rousing and rising for the night, it always sucks. It is always far more problematic than it has any right to be. And the reason for that is always because some jackass, some salesman, some officious police officer has found where you have laid your head and disturbed something enough to cause your beast to resurrect you in the most angry of moments. You know that something or someone that should not have been in your presence was. Typically it's someone rattling the doorknob of whatever flop you have for the evening. Typically it's someone who's parked too close to the vehicle where you are resting inside of. Typically. But every once in a while it is because some kindred has invaded your space. Some well-meaning or less than well-meaning kindred has decided that for the moment you are the easiest target, and you've had to set several kindred to rights. Because while it is a safe space for kindred, doesn't mean that every kindred is safe within it.
She will sigh and gather her things, and probably still on edge from the night before. That was not far from her place, and she always gets a little on edge when the newbie is on the hunt for something specific.
As you begin gathering your things, you, with your closeness to the creatures of the night, you, with your closeness and understanding animal behavior, typically they avoid you like the plague. Typically, they are smart enough to know that there's a larger predator nearby and they want no parts of it. That mangy, tiger-striped calico mix, half his face a mixed mash of orangey, black, and reddish tinted fur. The other half striped in stark gray and black. Now typically calico cats are female, but this one's a male. It's a mutation of sorts. Partially, you know, from all of its exposure to kindred vitae, and partially because it was just a freak that was kicked out of any semblance of having more than one life. And it sits there with its yellow orange eyes staring at you, watching you move. And you know that Max has sent a message.
She will stare at it for a long moment. She will speak to it. I guess I will need to rouse for feral whispers, but she will look at its one eye and be like, and
it responds in its typical haughty manner of Capitol Hill.
What about Capitol Hill?
You there.
Oh, you want me to go to Capitol Hill? All right. Like right now or later?
Why are you human slow?
I never liked you. All right, tell him I'm coming.
And while it doesn't say anything, it doesn't meow or meow, it, in its very feline manner, rolls its good eye at you and silently begins to pad off out into the darkness. You're sure that in that eye roll and that purposefully silent exit, there was all manner of get bent, fuck off, dumbass. In other words, typical feline behavior.
I'm gonna eat that cat one of these days.
The beauty of being always on the move, typically on the move, is that you've managed to find several ways to avoid the usual congestion of the major choke points, the major areas where there are watchers, the major areas where there are the theater of security, where there's someone paid to make the same jogging path, to make the same pattern as they move. This is the same police officers are receiving a few extra dollars to be in a certain area by a certain time for a certain time. The way that there's always that certain vehicle or that certain car or that certain guy who happens to sunbathe nude at night. You've managed to avoid the bulk of them. You've managed to map out a good portion of them so that you can live your immortality as relatively unbothered by anyone. Because in the end, that's the goal. The fewer people that are involved, the fewer kindred that are involved in your nightly existence, the longer that nightly existence can go by peacefully. Decker may be a despot. He may be a tyrant. But they credit where credit's due. He's one of the few gangrel remaining within the tower. He's one of the few gangrel that has wrested an entire city to their will, with the divining driving force to each their own, save for all of us together. Meaning if it doesn't better the city, you probably shouldn't be doing it. And if you probably shouldn't be doing it, it's better if you do it by yourself without anyone else being aware. That united independence has been codified in the fact that if there are more kindred caught in a particular area than a handful, the hammer comes down hard and strong. And while you don't belabor the fact, you have assisted Max with several smaller party breakups. It was an act of kindness because kindred, young, old, and all the steps in between, they push against the rules. And there's no reason for them to die because of it. But by the same token, there's no reason for you to go hungry because of it either. So noticing the lack of security. After the first, I need to make a left here so that I don't... Wait. Where's that broken down Thunderbird? After second, turning down to escape the patrol officers who, for some strange reason, choose that block to patrol on foot, you realize that they aren't there. And there's a growing sense of dread. Change is never good. Change brings trouble. Trouble typically brings pain.
She will push her rickety shitbox old truck up to, I assume she knows where she's going, Capitol Hill. I assume this is a place that they've met before.
Yes, there is a Nosferatu market that operates in the northwest corner underneath the Taco Bell. is only accessible by going through the second sub-basement of the Capitol Hill bunker. But only a few individuals outside of the gangrel and Nosferatu know that it exists. It is a wholesale spot. It's, to be perfectly honest, it's a kindred swap meet. It's where you go to typically get rid of things for a small value that you don't want being tied back specifically to you. Most polite kindred don't know it actually exists, especially being as they manage to hide their stench and their monstrosity underneath all of the outflow of scents from the Taco Bell. Can you imagine one of those blue blood actually walking into a Taco Bell or even being near a Taco Bell? The idea is laughable. A besuited blue blood or one of the perverts in all of their haute couture finery, smelling of chalupas and Taco Bell Grandes. On the way,
she has a.
Go on.
Go ahead. I was going to say she has a profound appreciation for that.
On the way, being the easiest way is, of course, to take Fond du Lac, i.e. 145, up to Congress and make that left into the turnaround. You notice all of the many missing security checkpoints, the watchtowers spread across the city like the lights of Gondor. And your skin starts to crawl. Max normally demands your presence for small little things, learning moments, teachable instances of just because they broke the law doesn't mean that they deserve to be permanently broken. Unlike the vast majority of the Anubi, Max very much is a live and let live sort of Anubi. His fame, his social status comes because he is the most understanding of the Anubi. Rolf the Viking wants a final battle that will end his existence. However, being as his blood is thick enough to effectively be concrete, there are not many kindred, let alone forces aligned against the kindred, that would ever give him that great final battle. And we're not going to talk about the others. It only gets worse from there. His push for a noble death stays his hand far more often than not. If you're not worthy of his axis, he typically won't interact. However, Rubiana, doesn't matter entirely. She won't interact not because she thinks you deserve leniency. She won't interact because she doesn't want you to know which member of the Anubi is the reason why your business has failed, why you and your family have been evicted, and why the police have several warrants out for your arrest. She is the Anubi that works through shadow and proxy. She rarely interacts directly, because when she does, she's been known to consume and diablerize everything between her and Prince Decker. And then there's Tommy the Madman, the child soldier, who is as vicious as you could imagine, a gangrel who has the flame of ardent belief lighting his way. And we won't talk about Prince Decker's child, his middle child, who has middle child syndrome. She needs the attention, but, well, she doesn't want the attention. She needs the praise, but doesn't care what anyone thinks. And so instead of an honorable fight, she will do whatever is necessary to end everything aligned before her.
She will, I guess, park in the parking lot of the Taco Bell. She'll put the old parking ticket that she keeps in her glove box on the underneath the broken wiper on the windshield, and she will slide into the back entrance.
As you get out of the beater, the Fred and Sanford's son truck that you typically drive, it's hard to not notice that in the parking slot directly next to you is a dark-haired woman, a attractive dark-haired woman, busily playing a game of 52 card pickup. Her sedan is completely out of place. It is far more expensive than most of the other vehicles in the parking lot. She is busily rifling through cards and shaking her head and frowning, trying to puzzle out what you can only guess the difference between the Jack of Hearts and the Jack of Diamonds. But either way, she keeps playing with these cards and, well, takes a moment. A far too large of a moment before you realize, what the fuck is Cassandra doing here? She's one of the pretty ones. She doesn't need to be in this area.
Charlie will tap lightly on her window. Say, what are you doing down here, sweetie? You all going to get robbed in this neighborhood.
Sandra jumps for a moment, causing her to drop her cards and rolls down her window. I have been troubled, and I needed a moment's quiet.
At a Taco Bell in the hood?
Highly questionable, I know. Are you familiar? Well, I'm sure you've heard of Little Red Riding Hood.
I didn't mean that kind of hood, but go on.
Well, needless to say,
Are you saying you're seeing wolves? Where'd you see wolves at? I'll go tell Max. Or hey, here's a better idea. You can come tell Max. I wouldn't leave anything valuable in your car.
And speaking of leaving nothing valuable in the car, less than a quarter of a mile away, a few moments, half an hour or so before, Kai, the beast, is the beast and always leads you on a very merry chase. You are not, to be perfectly honest, you're not bothered by the idea of your beast doing what beasts do, whispering susurrously in your ear, urging you on to greater and greater acts of violence to satiate its need for blood, to satiate its need for life, to satiate its need for, well, everything.
question. Did anyone hear me? My internet keeps cutting in and out, so I keep disconnecting.
Yes, we heard you, but we were, as you were saying, or preparing to say, why you were there and where you've seen wolves, we switched the focus of the camera towards Kai, who is not far from where you all are right this very moment.
All right, thank you.
Basically, since his beast is the equivalent of a sword neck, he basically just puts his hand on the back of his neck and massages it and gets up, puts his clothes on, and leaves his haven. Because that's what it's there for. Doesn't just to sleep, wake up, leave. Well,
Yes, hence the reason why your haven is on Congress. It's a major thoroughfare, gets you almost everywhere you need to go, and it's close enough to the Lincoln Creek where if you need to, you can make bodies float downstream towards Lake Michigan and be far enough away that you don't technically actually shit where you eat. If most people understood or knew that there was your haven so very close to a good upstanding church or an assisted adult living center, they would move. Luckily for you, they don't know such, and so you have the opportunity of prowling the neighborhoods and other of both Lincoln Creek and Wall Park. Small neighborhoods where the working class is the upper class. The average household income is somewhere in the neighborhood of about $30,000, which means that they literally have just enough to scrape by to realize that they don't have enough to scrape by. The ends don't necessarily meet, but they come close enough that they can wave at each other. This is the average for the area, meaning that individuals such as yourself are able to, for the most part, exist as peacefully as you need to. The problem with existing as peacefully as you need to is that at your core, at your heart, there is there's a monster. A monster that needs human flesh. A monster that needs the blood of the living to continue existing. And the worst part of it is you need that fire of violence to make it all the worthwhile for yourself. You need action.
oh, I mean, he is a little hungry.
Oh,
Why not?
A little hungry? No, my dear sir. You borderline ravenous, and not because you actually are, but your beast needs the fire of resistance. It needs something to throw itself against. And right now, the only thing that they can throw itself against is you and your good reasoning. And it keeps assailing that good reasoning. There's no reason why you couldn't just kick open a door and take whoever's inside. You can make it rough and fast, and they never know what hit them.
All right.
Now, the problem with that, and there is only one problem with that, you don't have anybody to blame it on just yet. You don't have a victim that deserves to meet the full weight of Prince Decker's justice to blame it on. Because, while the beast makes good sense, yes, you could do these things, it has to be for a reason. It has to be towards the greater good. And the best way of achieving that course and reaching that goal of the greater good is making sure that those that deserve to be punished are. Not so much the new childers and neonates of the city. No, those mid-range kindred who have not done anything to better the city. Those vultures who prey not only on the kind around you, but the other kindred. Those kindred who abuse and use the childer and neonates to their own ends, repaying their ignorance with subjugation. The tower is supposed to be something better than that. The drives of immortality are supposed to be better than that, even with the voice of the beast always in your ear. And it's those kindred to whom you direct your ire.
Man,
And as you rise and you find yourself on West Congress, are you moving east or west? Are you moving towards the Soul of Destiny, which is a kind of a bed and breakfast, but it's also a massage parlor. It's kind of a catch-all, healthy-ish living for an economical price. Or are you heading west towards the expressway, towards 145, Fond du Lac?
Expressway sounds more fun.
Okay, so you're heading west. It is right when you get to the Bethel AME. It's a standard cross design church. It's cross never going off. It's bright and lighting up most of the night in the immediate area there at Congress and 50th. You hear Teddy's voice calling out from the door of the church. Hey, kid. I was wondering when you'd get moving. I guess you'd come this way because most of the people are that way. Come on in.
What's on the deets tonight?
Well, and he pauses and smiles toward the pastor who's at the back of the church. We won't be taking too much more of your time. Yeah, just give me a second. I'll be with you. And he pulls you into the kitchen of the church, which is there just to the right of the door. Closes the door behind you. Look, I've been lining this turkey up for a long while. He's a pawn and works for it. It don't matter who he worked for. Look, last night I'm not sure exactly what happened, but the newbie had been on the move. I even saw the Viking in the area. You didn't do anything stupid, did you?
No. I haven't killed anyone in a few.
No one gives a shit about you killing people as long as you clean up the mess. But you didn't do anything stupid. Something big was happening last night. And they're still in the middle of it.
I was just doing my normal routines.
What about those new kids you've been putting your arms around? None of them did anything stupid either, right? I know there was those young kids look up to you, which is a good thing, but you got to teach them the right way so that they don't bring shit down on your head. And with this many a newbie in the area, it's clear that either you or them have done something to embarrass us.
I mean, I don't think they've done anything too stupid. They are new, and they might have done something after I left them.
Yeah, that ain't good. Get over to the swap meet that we're not supposed to know about. Get the word out there and find out who fucked up so that we can take care of it before the newbie bring them before the judges, or worse, take care of it themselves.
Hey, I got you.
Oh, and another thing, get a new fucking jacket.
What? It was just given to me by Alex.
That blue bub will be the death of you.
Oh, come on, they mean well.
Yeah, you heard the story about what good intentions get you? Find whichever kid fucked up, set them right, and make sure that they lay low long enough for us to figure out how to get them that fat out of the fire. Last thing we need is everybody pointing fingers at the rabble that, oh no, they're just as bad as the fucking gang girl, blah, 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 blah. We don't need that. Find them, set them straight. Get them out of sight.
Yep.
In his inimitable way, it is clear that Teddy actually somewhat cares. In his inimitable way, it is clear that he has every intention of running interference. The only problem with having a leather-faced veteran of lupine and kindred battles running interference, it invariably means that someone will die painfully, and in such a manner that most eyes will be looking away from wherever he wants them to look away from. So as you head out into the night, moving west of Bethel, do you continue where he suggested, or do you reach out in another way to find some of your wards, your up-and-coming childer who have been embraced into the night without the good counsel necessary to keep their noses clean?
Well, he told me to check up on them, but he also told me to go there. So I go to the place where he tells me to go. For some reason, that feels more right.
All right, sounds like a plan. Like I said, it's less than a quarter of a mile getting you from there to Capitol Hill, the shelter where you know that several Nosferatu have been seen. You know that it's kind of a wholesale meeting place for the up-and-comers, the down and out, those who have reasons to associate in less than nefarious places, the nefarious, if you will. And speaking of nefarious and things that begin with N, namely NFTs, there is a certain standard max that you begin your evenings with. Would you like to elucidate them for us?
Of course. Start off with a nice hot shower with oatmeal and lavender soap. Get dressed in my evening attire. Check to see how much money I made while I've been sleeping. And then turn on DJ Barth to see if there's anything that I need to be aware of. And then I'll go ahead and plot my night based on those choices.
Well, the beautiful thing about DJ Barth is that everything is stated in a direct and completely coded manner. He literally runs his voice in nonstop. It is one of those things that it amazes you how a kindred, because you believe that he is a kindred at least, is able to literally talk all night. I still have time for feeding. Still have time to take care of the basic ablations necessary to seem alive. What does he do? Have a headset plugged directly into his ear, like a Bluetooth that he literally does everything else on? You're not sure how that really works out, the whole technology thing, because trying to use a cell phone these days is virtually impossible without tempting the beast more times than not, more times than is necessary. That new Mac that you were attempting to use that had a touch screen interface that you can actually paint with the light pen was a pain in the ass to set up because it kept not registering you as being there, so you couldn't get anything fucking done on it. It's still sitting there in the box unused, well, relatively unused, and you did open it, you did plug it in, you did start trying to set it up, but the fact that it keeps demanding your touch on the pad and the optical sensor, and then what if the camera that you disabled wasn't actually disabled, and paranoia set it. So it's still sitting there unplugged, unconnected to anything in its box, several $1,000s down the drain. But DJ Barth,
I'm going to think about how to return it, or maybe give it as a gift and with a few strings attached. If I can't figure out how to use it, at least I can turn it into being something useful for me in the back end.
Well, that's the goal with most things, how to make it profitable, because there's a world of want out there and you do not want to take part in it. While the idea of a starving artist is all romantic and great and good and all of that, there's a reason why your condo is spitting distance from the Milwaukee Art Museum. There's a reason why your condo is spitting distance from the Betty Brant Children's Museum. There's a reason why your condo is your condo. You pay for the exclusivity, the privacy, the view of the lake. The Milwaukee Church of Christ is part of that view onto the lake. The War Memorial there, just slightly north of your living room window. There's a reason why you do these things. And the threat of violence is not one of them. The message being presented. Last night it was about the invaders and the dark sedans. You didn't hear anything about the Anubi on the move, but you could read between the lines and know that if those many warnings and alerts and, I've seen it were happening, and DJ Bar was putting it out there that something big was happening. Something noteworthy was happening out there in the dark, and you were thankful that you didn't have to deal with it. You were thankful that you had the good graces of only having that one little wine showing block north of your condo at the University Club. It's, for what it's worth, as a place where humans go to sweat away their lives and pay for the luxury of being tortured with exercise, it served its purpose. You made a few connections, you spoke with a few brokers and dealers, and you even managed to move that hideous piece about the redhead that you met 7 months ago. She was great conversation, but a horrible model. You managed to piece something together that was remotely artistic enough to be sold, but not artistic enough that you would keep it in any of your exhibits. But tonight, dressed and ready for the evening, standing, taking in the view, because you can see the jogging trail, that usually there's 2 clear sentries for the city that run the trail. It usually takes them about 20-25 minutes to pass each other right there, just in front of your window, one going south, the other going north. You wait 15-20 minutes, to see them. 15-20 minutes turns into nearly an hour, and you still haven't seen the sentries that normally patrol this particular area of the city. You pay your tithes to Lucina to make sure that you keep several sentries in and around your area to make sure that you stay safe. After all, there's a reason for the luxury. There's a reason for your location. And you haven't seen any of the sentries, any of the little telltale signs that the night is safe for you. And to be perfectly honest, between the wasted money on the laptop, the money spent on the little wine exhibit, and the effort necessary to keep the wine down long enough not to make a fool of yourself, you need to recoup that loss. And that's a loss that you can recoup, because there's no way that you're going to continue tithing to your Maula, to your representative, if you're not getting what you paid for. No sense of throwing good money after bad, especially with all the rumors that refuse to die about last year's Pabst Mansion party. It's bad enough that the rumors persist that it actually happened at the Pabst Mansion. That is a sign of your clan's esteem in the city. It's a sign of the power of the Clan of the Rose. To have it raided by the Anubi? Dreadful business, that.
I actually pick up my phone and call Lucinda and ask her, is there anything that's happening because the sentries that normally run around the area has not been seen. Is there anything that I should be aware of?
So, calling the service line for the Pabst Mansion tour, which is the direct landline where you can reach Lucina typically, instead of reaching her normal manservant, who was formerly Deltonus's guard, his ghoul, his aide de camp. It was nice of her to absorb Deltonus's staff into her household with his disappearance and all. But still, it not being Harold who answers the phone to transfer your call to Lucina is troubling. Things change, yes, of course, and certainly as the eldest, foremost member of the clan in Milwaukee, certainly she's busy. However, she always takes your call. Abraham is always there. So when you ring and you get Pabst Mansion tours, and you know the grating tone of Elizabeth, she's not the second string. She's not the fourth string. In fact, as far as things go, she is 2 steps from being drained of her vitae and fed to a ghoul. She has the taste of a 1920s housefrau. She has the graces of a cow in a dress. And despite her statuesque form, she has a sense of humor of a sailor during the 1918s. Pabst Mansion tours.
Yes, question. I need to leave a message for Lucinda. Would you be able to...
Is this Max?
It is indeed.
Oh my god, I saw that lovely redhead painting you did. Did you know that Xavier bought it? He's gonna hang it. He's got a place picked out in the study upstairs.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm glad. I hope he enjoyed it.
How did you find such a chubby model?
Some nights it just is what it is.
I like it. She looks like a little cherub.
That's one word for it, yes.
So, your message?
Yeah, could you possibly relay to Lucinda that the sentries are late reaching their destination?
What? Hang on 1 second. Yeah, I got Max on the phone. He says that his, yeah, you know the sentries we bribe him with? Yeah. Oh. You don't know anything? Oh, okay. Oh, well, I'm supposed to deliver a message to Lucina. Yeah, but, you know, I don't have her direct number. I don't know why she won't give it to me. So I can't call. Okay, yeah, I'm at the, yeah, I'm here now. Can't you look at the number? Don't you have caller ID? Yeah. Okay, what about Abraham's number? I've been asking him for like the last month. He won't give it to me. Yeah, I know he's spoiled. I know he's her favorite. So what? No, nothing's gonna happen. Okay, fine. Okay, look, you know, go fuck yourself. I mean, in the nicest way possible, of course. You know, I don't mean by that. Yeah. Okay. 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 Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, sorry about placing you on hold. So I reached out to a few people. Yeah, and it seems if maybe I think Teddy might be using them for something. Seems as yeah, I called Abraham and some of the higher ups, and yeah, there's something happening. They won't tell me what, but as soon as I know anything, I'll let you know, and I'll pass along your message to Lucine. I will make sure that she takes a look at that lovely painting you did. It's really good. What did you use? Acrylics, or is that oil?
No, definitely not acrylics. It was actually oil.
Oh, is that the reason why it's still kind of wet?
Yes, that's exactly why.
Nice. I gotta practice. I got this set that is you paint with stickers. It's a unicorn. I'm trying to get one that's a really, really big. I think if I take all the pages out of the book and put them together, then maybe I can do like a paper tapestry or something like that.
I'm sure it will come out wonderfully.
Yeah. I'm hoping, because my last show really didn't do all that well. I'm not really a painter, but I did my best. I didn't know the watercolors would run in the rain like that. Who would have thought about that?
No one. It's amazing that it happened.
So, you got any good parties going on? I don't think I'm going to be here all night. Everybody keeps calling and leaving a message for Lucina, but I can't, she's busy, clearly. You know what I mean?
Definitely, who else is calling?
Well, earlier, Jason was calling, but, he's a fucking kook. And then Alexandra tried to relay a message. Well, it wasn't Alexandra, she wouldn't really call. I don't think Lucina likes her a lot. But anyway, one of her people's called, and yeah, I just haven't been able to reach her. She's been busy.
Okay, well, I will see if I can track down some information. Definitely.
Yeah, that'd be a good thing. Just let me know what you find out. I'm probably gonna be here, I don't know, maybe another hour, because the calls keep adding up. I think, oh my god, why would people just keep calling? Fuck, I know she's busy, but still.
Yes, but it is part and parcel of her position, so I totally understand.
You were surprisingly one of the good ones. I don't care what Tessa says about you.
Oh, so what does Tessa say about me?
That
Curious.
That you should be ashamed. She saw one of your exhibits. She said that you're exploitative. No one does full body nudes anymore. Not in painting, anyway.
I see. Well, she's entitled to her opinion.
That's what I said. Especially for someone who hangs out to the autograph. Come on. That dive.
That's true. That is true.
But yeah, I gotta go. There's another call coming in. Oh god, this switchboard. I'll pass along your message. Max, right? Max, the painter, the with the red head. Okay, I got you. I'll make sure that she gets it.
Definitely. Much appreciated. Thank you.
As the call ends, the idea of who to reach out to, she tossed out quite a few names, and one of them, perfectly honest, make sure already cold Vitae runs colder. Teddy is a firebrand. He's one of those people who cares too much and does too much. The last time that you heard him putting his hands into a matter was just because before the fracas and all the rumors about the Pabst party. He purportedly helped shut down a lupine hunt. There was, on the north side of the city, there was supposedly some witch hunters and some lupines and some shotguns and God knows what else was supposedly actually there, because, you know, the story always grows in the telling. But you've noticed a pattern. Every time his hands get involved, something either dies or worse.
Well, yeah, definitely. I'm gonna make a note of all of that information just in case I run across the need of it again. I got my little black book, write down Teddy and Tessa. Unfortunately, she didn't give me much information as to where I should be going, so I'm going to have to
Teddy is easy.
Work on that.
Teddy is relatively easy. Almost anywhere north of Walnut and west of the river is his stomping grounds. He is typically out there with the young, poor, disenfranchised kindred, speaking to and being a man amongst the people. But with a face like his, what else would you expect? How often would you expect him to make an appearance at actual court or at actual salon where there are people with good taste? With a face like his, you'd stick to the shadows as well. You'd stick to the fringes of society. Hell, rumor has it that the one time Prince Decker invited him to the box at All American Field was when the Brewers were rained out. Like, his face was so ugly that the sky broke.
I'm gonna have to go and mingle with the poor, aren't I?
No, that's one way to say it.
Okay. Well, taking a deep breath, I am going to fire up my car, my Jaguar, and head over there to see if I can find Teddy.
So, doing the unexpected, you head out into the night. So as you get into your car and begin moving across the city, there are certain expectations that were already at the floor. You pay for and tithing a portion of your earnings to make sure that you reside in the most comfortably secure area possible. There are certain things that are inherent in that, and the lack of a police presence at this hour of the evening in this much of a tourist area is beginning to trouble you. You don't see the blinking lights. And this is a small thing most people don't even bother to notice, but the lights blink to catch your eye and make you look up towards the camera. If those lights are not on, doesn't that mean that no one's actually at that moment watching those feeds? Doesn't that mean that the protections that your tithing goes for are not in place? First the sentries, then the cameras, then the lack of the police. It's adding up to a very piss poor evening. How can you safely feed if all of the protections that are supposed to be there are not there? How can you find and entertain a donor of sufficient quality when you have to look over your shoulder constantly, when you have to make sure that you are not, with your back facing the window or the doors and it's too much work. It is definitively a mood killer. And speaking of a mood killer, rising for the evening, Millie, nothing pains you so very much than the incessant pinging of someone's annoying electronic connection with the rest of the world. It takes a second till you realize that it is the synopses of DJ Bart's from the previous night. Your teletype that you used to, instead of listening to his annoying nonstop voice, is going off the rails. It is firing 100 words a minute. It is clear that those kindred calling into his station are lighting up the lines, as the kids say. Now, you installed the teletype so that, one, you wouldn't have to deal with his voice, and two, you can read them at leisure and you can parse together the coded information being relayed at your leisure, instead of having to, call in yourself and have him repeat something, or instead of having to monitor his podcast, instead of having to do all of that. You're able to read everything that he is saying and all of the information that's being fed through at your leisure, and you have a record of it that you can refer back to later. Now, normally you have 3, 4, maybe 5 actual relatable portions of the evening of his entire diatribe. There's things that let you know that folks are on the move, or which areas to avoid and where to stay out of, and if there's anything happening at your second favorite bar. Across the river, just north of where Black Torch Brewery is Club Charlie's. Now, Mia had managed to turn what was formerly a speakeasy into an attraction. Now, it helps that she is, right there off of North Milwaukee Street. It helps that Menominee is right there, adding to the air of secrecy, and most people don't realize how to get to Menominee. It's a small little street that connects Erie with North Jackson, and if you are not a local, you'd miss it. You take Pittsburgh right into Milwaukee and keep right on going. You would know that you can get off with that soft, wide right turn onto Menominee, which gives you access to the Skylight Music Theater, gives you access to the Culture Hub. It gives you an access to the mouth of Riverwalk Way. It is one of the best kept secrets, especially being it's right there in the historic ward. But you, like most kindred, are very territorial, and you like to keep the area safe as you can, so that your feeding and the feeding of your guests can happen undeterred by anything and anyone. You're able to get people that you need to wine and dine in and out without causing much of a scene. Now, much like those in the know, and being Alexandra's favorite, you are able to insist on a certain level of security. After all, that's what your tithings go for, after all.
So, sliding to her feet in the blacked out room, she has the one room in the house with no windows. Staring over at the teletype and rolling her eyes. This will not do. I don't know what's going on right now. And she kind of smooths her nightgown like legitimate high neck frilly confection with like puffy sleeves, looking something out of a Christmas Carol in a way. It's her one concession. And sliding her feet into slippers, she looks around and listens for any of the other family members that might share the house. They have their own wing, part of the house, but she's listening to hear if any of her children and their at the time current whoever's are home, or any of the help that she might have around.
Around, yes, and blithely unaware as to the source of the noise that they've grown accustomed to. People can get accustomed to almost anything. That's one of the many beauties of the human condition. You adapt, typically. And especially in your particular case with your children, they know you work all night. For some strange reason, you and the brewmaster and a few others of your hand-picked staff work all night. Instead of, we have people coming to the brewery during the day, they need tours and blah, 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 and they'll handle it. But the first few years of them having to handle things on their own, it was, well, kids will be kids.
That was honestly a mess I had to clean up. And then she goes to do her, like, washing her face, changing her clothes, putting on something more business casual for the evening. And then realizing again that it seems kind of strange that the security that she would normally expect, or the things that she would expect to normally have happen, aren't happening. So she'll go towards the teletype and scroll back towards the beginning and try to scan it quick and see if anything stands out.
Oh, yes. Yes, it does. One of the many things that DJ Barth does as part of the tithing from yourselves, the Blue Bloods as a whole, and the sensates, is that he works in phrases as it called in from other Blue Bloods and other sensates. And some of the phrasings only make sense to the sensates and the Blue Bloods, even though everyone can get the overall message that something is going wrong or certain areas to stay away from. One of the many services that you all pay for as a whole. Another way of pulling one over on your very outlander prince, as it were. A way to show that just because you all don't rule the roost as the head of the tower, that it is still, in fact, still your house where the halls of power reside. There is, according to the teletype, somewhere around 3 minutes after sunset, an unofficial house party at Garuja's house taking place in the last place the police would expect. And you look at the address, you reread it, and you reread it again. The last place the police would expect. That means that this is supposedly outside of the purview of the Anubi. And Garuja, well, as a Blue Blood, you know what that means. A Garuja is, well, a monthly meeting of Blue Bloods that determines the ebb and flow of power in a city. You've managed to survive a few, because it very much is a proving ground. But if some well-meaning upstart child would announce such a thing so early in the evening by calling DJ Barth, the idiot fails to realize that the Viking very much is a member of the Blue Blood community. They've all but announced that they were holding an illegal grab for power. And while the others of the Anubi would not have picked up on it, the Viking very much is, in fact, Blue Blood. He would have understood it as plain as day. which means that right now, in and around the area for Capitol Hill, which is the bunker that has operated as a landmark for years, both when you were living and now, is more than likely being beset by police, the Anubi, perhaps some judges to render judgment on the scene, or worse. And knowing who and what your child is, your beloved, lovely youngest child, Adele, knowing that she is a member of Milwaukee Police, you need to get there and get her free of that situation by any and every means possible. Because while many of the lovely upstanding members of the police department are unaware, much like Delphine, as to who really calls the shots for them, that they are in fact used as shock troops and bullet shields and distractions, there are some who know, there are some who understand, and there are some who are okay with it. Delphine is a believer in doing what's right for the public. So if there's a state of emergency being called in some black bag operation, you are sure that she would not necessarily be chosen. Worse, she'd volunteer.
Child, a whole pool. Oh, I'm gonna have to go get her, I think. She's talking to herself, not realizing that nobody's there to hear her, but it's just that when she's agitated, she drifts into her parents' language, the French Creole. Normally she sounds polished and put together, but when she's agitated, it pops at her. I swear to child. Okay, we gonna do this. I should probably reach out to Kai and see what he's doing, and maybe he can get to her before I get to her, but I'm going to go that way anyway. So, does Kai normally have like a phone that she knows of?
Yes, you can call and leave a message for him with the mechanic shop where Teddy operates out of. And Teddy typically is able to find Kai within about a half an hour to an hour.
Okay, so she's going to make plans to leave and go help, but at the same time, she's going to reach out to that location with her landline. Not being typically cell phone type, but yeah, so she's going to call the mechanic.
The funny thing is, while there's an edict to not interact or not to put your hands on and control any of the travel in or out of the city, being near enough to watch it and notate, tail wing numbers and the like is not frowned on. And many people set up locations or watchers or retainers to do just that. There's a lot you can learn from, a plane's tail wings if you're able to see it. There's a lot you can learn from a helicopter's, numbers that are along the side of the body and underneath from time to time. Teddy's mechanic shop, his auto body shop, is actually literally right there at 91st and Hampton. It's the Amstar. There's a gas station portion of it, but the entire east wing of the building is, a mechanic shop. And across the street south of Hampton, there is the actual place where you are sure, there's no proof of it, but you're sure that's where he lays his head. You've been eyeing the place because if you buy the property, then he'd have to owe you to keep what it, but that's a plan for later, just in case he ever got out of pocket. But a face like that, you're sure that he's been told several hundred times before. But all the same, you call the Amstar And like clockwork, it is answered on the second ring. Hey, I'm sorry, how can we help?
Good evening, dear. Sorry, I need to sort this out. I'm in a bit of a hurry. Is Teddy about?
No, he's going to pick up one of the mechanics. I've never met the guy, but he keeps referring to this particular mechanic that he likes. He likes this mechanic Thompson. K. Thompson? Is that who has your car?
Yes, that would be who has my car, and I need to know where it might be so I can go pick it up.
Okay, sounds like a plan. I will page Teddy now. He should be getting back to us as soon as possible. Is this an emergency?
Not quite, but urgent. More, not quite emergency. This is Millie, by the way. Millicent P. Black.
Millicent P. Black. Oh, I see that you've called before. How is the Mercedes doing?
Every time I think we've got it figured out, something else happens with that thing. You would think I would pick
I'm not showing. I am not showing that it's in currently, which means it's not here. I'm not sure where this K. Thompson, mechanic K. Thompson, is actually located at. Teddy has quite a few freelancers that he uses from time to time. I will page Teddy now, sending the page as we speak. And with any luck, is this the best number to contact you on?
Yes, I should be here for the next few moments, but hopefully I won't need to leave in a hurry.
All right, sounds like a plan. I will make sure that Teddy calls back as quickly as possible. I have notated that it is an emergency, so with any due luck, he'll be contacting you fairly shortly. I'm entering the number now, so he should be calling you shortly thereon.
Thank you so much for your help. You have been amazing this evening. I hope you have a good night. And she hangs up and then starts rubbing her temples because she really doesn't want to have to go into this alone. Not much of a fighter, but her child is important to her. That's her blood. Heading downstairs towards like the kitchen area, knowing that there should be one of the house workers, something. Her beast has been kind of acting up since she woke up with the agitation. She needs to handle that before she goes out. She needs to be calm and cool and collected.
Yes, there's definitively that. However, with your first choice and samples for the evening being out and about, and you having taken from the older vintage the night before, are you willing to risk sampling outside of your palate, or are you going to risk the potential health of that older vintage?
She would never put either of them at harm on purpose if she could avoid it. So she will, while peckish, avoid it and see if maybe on her way to where she's going, she runs into something palatable enough for her.
All right, sounds like a plan. The question is, knowing that you are heading into a particularly personal situation, will you take a member of your staff with you, or will you drive yourself?
Staff, depending on which member of the staff, but staff might just ask too many questions, and so this might be better for her to do by herself.
the beauty with having the brewery connected with the south-facing wing of the house and connected enough where you can enter into the brewery without anyone knowing at any point that you like, loses its worth when Cillian catches you getting into the car out front. As per your request, he never smokes inside. He never smokes around any of the vats. He never smokes around any of the hops or the barley needed. He always takes a walk, and it keeps him relatively healthy. It keeps the blood flowing. But as is the case, you're getting in your car and you hear, "When did you fucking rise? I didn't see ya." We've got an issue with the next batch of hops. We've gotten that inferior stuff from South America again. I don't know. Do you hear me?
She pauses and groans and looks at him. I specifically said last time not to use those people, but I guess in a pinch we do what we can. Is there any way at all?
Douglas negotiated a 3-year contract, so now we're stuck with him for another 7 months, and I can't keep working with this. I'm doing my best. I'm even roasting it twice, but it's still coming out the same. It's still just a bit off the nose. Now, I told you, I suggested, forgive me saying I told you, I was not one place to tell you. After all, you are, of course, the owner. But I can't keep working with Douglas if you keep allowing him to run the finances and making us with these piss poor deals. The lad needs a good slapping, maybe a punch or two.
Well, you notice my height compared to his would seem that I would not be able to do such, but I will take that into under advisement and remind him very much so that we are about quality at Black Torch Brewery rather than profit. Does that work? Is that enough for this problem to go away? Because I kind of have to go handle something.
That's what I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to handle this before I put my hand around his throat and throttle the boy. Do you understand what it's like? As per your request, I'm making sure that I'm staying busy overnight because we have so much that we're doing. But this is just another. Would you be so kind as to roll your wits plus insight? You're a DC 2, because you know him so well. And while that roll is happening, reading the letter, it is hard not to have your blood boil. There's a common understanding and aphorism that people toss out every day, all day long, and it drips into the night and is just as eponymous with continued existence. A little knowledge goes a long way, and a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. So that's a long way, a long travel, a metric fuck ton of stupid danger people can get into with a little knowledge. And you make sure that you provide enough knowledge to keep people who choose to not be foolish with their immortality in the best state possible. It's an investment of time and oftentimes of resources and money. But in this particular case, Aaron, looking at the letter, the intentions and the declared rights that need to happen for all of the young blue blood, it is hard to not crumple the letter, put your fist through a wall, or otherwise destroy something. That fool, Newton, has decided to take it upon himself to begin a unification with at least 3 other coteries that hold at least 2 members of the blood in their number. And he has the nerve to call it a Garuja. He has the nerve to hijack a word that others shouldn't know. He has the intentions of declaring himself Baron. He thanks you for your assistance. He thanks you for the investment of your time. And he, much like the founding fathers, has sent a letter of intention that going forward, he will be the Baron of Capitol Heights, and that his domain will stretch as far north as Hampton Heights, and that his domain will stretch as south as Sunset Heights, and that his domain, the number of times that this idiot says domain in one fucking letter makes you want to pull your hair out.
Doubly so because of what Aaron's trying to accomplish on his own. And this asshole's just up and saying, oh yeah, I'm not going to go through any of that. I'm just going to declare it.
Exactly so. He is claiming a wild land between, even though there's no primogen in Milwaukee, the primogen of the Bruja, the Hakata to the south, the wild Hakata that has taken the bulk of Glendale to the northeast. And most importantly, it's in the path of every major road from downtown Central towards Timmerman Airport. It's in the thoroughfare. He's attempting to set up a bridge and make himself the troll that takes the toll. And you know how well that will be responded to. Even with Decker in retreat and mourning. It's natural. You lost a child. They were very important to you. It takes time. Everyone grieves at their own pace. However, even with Decker on light duty as Prince, the Viking is very much a member of the Blue Bloods. The Viking very much is a patrician. The Viking, just like you, while you received the letter, listens to DJ Barth. The Viking, as one of the most respected direct members of the Anubi, would launch a great barbarian horde at this infidel seeking to steal territory from Milwaukee proper. And it would be well within his right to call in as many favors and factors as he could to make this not just a massacre, but an example. There will be witnesses. You are sure that Grasses himself will probably be in attendance. You are sure that the bulk of the judges will be on hand. You are sure that when they make their maneuver against this idiot Newton, that they will bring everyone worthy of keeping watch and telling the tale there. Because this idiot just declared himself Baron and attempted to steal territory from Milwaukee as a whole.
Oh boy, that's a lot to process. Two things immediately come to mind upon reading this letter. Number one, fuck this guy. Number 2, there may be an opportunity to advance his own position in the chaos that this idiot just caused. If he can somehow convince everyone I have no relation to this idiot whatsoever, while also taking part in this, what's going to end up being an assault on this man's haven. And like you said, the people the prince considers worthy being involved, then maybe that can help him advance his own status within the city. So it might be time for Aaron to make some calls to see if he can get involved.
As ever, that is probably the best course of action. But as you're preparing to going through the Rolodex, see which landlines you're going to reach out to, which facets of the phone tree you're going to reach out to, whether you're going to keep it within the clan proper, whether you're going to use your resources outside the clan to reach out to others, there's a gleaming factor that rears its ugly head. Well, yes, Newton's an asshole. Well, yes, Newton's is a young upstart that deserves to be smacked with whatever they're going to smack him with. His standing amongst many of the younger kindred, his standing will definitively have more neonates there than should be. His standing and his popularity, his strength of his oral presence, his ability to orate, his ability to create a scene will more than likely take several lines of investment that you have currently in that market.
It sucks, but sometimes you win some, you lose some. Sometimes you gotta know when to pull out of a bad investment, and right now, Aaron's seeing this guy as a bad investment.
Yes, and there's no sense in throwing more good money after bad. So, with those thoughts in mind, which of his resources, his networks, does Aaron reach out to?
He's not going to reach out to his clan because, as I recall, the rules of the final test are that he can't rely on other Ventru. So he's instead going to see if he can reach out to... I accidentally closed out my tab here. 1 second. He's going to see if he can reach out to... probably to Kai, because he figures Kai might know something about what's going on, and see if he can get in on this. Or if failing that, he'll see if Charlie is available, because he knows that Charlie is the child of one of the Anubi, so they're probably gonna also know what's going on and might be able to get him involved.
All right. Now, Kai is a good, upstanding member of the polite society and doesn't keep any cell phones or such. Unfortunately, Kai also lives in such a location, wherever that is, and doesn't actually have a landline. Who does, however, is Teddy, the kind of voice and primogen for the Bruja of Milwaukee, the scarred Nosferatu-like leather-clad member. And the best way to reach Teddy is by calling his particular landline. His particular location is the Amstar there on Hampton and 91st, i.e. Swan Road. So you call. I'm sorry, how can we help?
I was hoping to speak with Kai. This is Aaron.
We don't have a mechanic, Kai. Are you calling to speak with Teddy?
Yeah, sure. I'll take Teddy as well.
All right, sounds like a plan. I already have an emergency text page out to Teddy currently. He hasn't responded as of yet. However, there is a Mrs. Black that is attempting to reach him currently. Is this the best number to reach you on?
Yes.
Excellent. Miss Black did inform us that Kai is the mechanic Kate Thompson. Is that your mechanic as well?
Yes, he is.
Excellent. Well, that makes it fairly easy. I will page Teddy now. He should be returning your call fairly shortly. He is, as far as the notes here state, he has reached out or is attempting to reach out to with several other mechanics in the area, one of them being A.K. Thompson. And your name?
Aaron. Aaron Hamilton.
A. Hamilton. Okay, excellent. And this is the best number to call you on. I see. I did not realize, Mr. Hamilton. Thank you for all of your assistance. It seems as if Teddy's left a message that you and Mrs. Black are part of our premier club. It seems here that you have an Audi. Is this the vehicle that's currently with mechanic K. Thompson?
That would be, yes. Lovely vehicle.
Excellent. I'm notating this in the page now. Teddy should be reaching out to you fairly shortly. You're on the list as an emergency call directly behind Mrs. Black. Are there any other notes you'd like me to add to the page?
Nothing else at the moment, no.
Excellent. Well, good evening to you, and we will get Teddy to call you as quickly as possible. I am notating that both these calls are emergencies. You have an enjoyable evening.
Thank you, you as well. And as soon as he hangs up, he's going to instead try and call Charlie.
Now, there's the thing. Charlie stayed in your place. Charlie has taken part of all of the safety and security that you take for granted, because after all, there are just certain things that are a minimum expectation. And after all, your tithings go to make sure that the city as a whole and your neighborhood in specific are well taken care of. The thing is, Charlie comes and goes as they choose. And in that coming and going, did you both arrange a way to reach out to each other?
I assume Aaron would have extended the offer. The question is, would Charlie have accepted?
She does have a burner phone, like a real old phone, that she carries with her. Her living situation is sketchy, so she doesn't really have a landline.
So watching Cassandra fumble with the cards and talk about various things, namely wolves, lupines, but you know how crazy they can be. Death doesn't suit everyone, and new kindred often fall privy to flights of fancy. Your phone goes off.
Oops, hang on. What's this? She'll pull it out and look at it. Actually, she'll pull it out and answer it, because it's probably so old that it doesn't have caller ID anyway, so. Yeah?
Is that really how you greet an old friend?
Who's this, Hamilton?
Yes. Hello, Charlie.
What's up?
I'm assuming you've heard about what Newton's done.
No. Is that what they were all scrambling around about last night? Did he, I don't know, what did he do?
Well, apparently he's up and declared himself Baron, and has carved out a rather sizable domain for himself. Oh, and he's also inviting a whole bunch of people to come over to his place illegally. So naturally, I'm assuming that the prince, and likely the Anubi as well, are going to, well, put a stop to that as quickly as possible. I was wondering if your sire, being that he's part of that lovely gang, was looking for any help. I'd love to offer my assistance.
Well, I'm getting ready to go in the Taco Bell right now, so I'll let you know.
Into Taco Bell?
Yeah, the Taco Bell. You don't know what a Taco Bell is?
I know what a Taco Bell is. I'm questioning the relevance that it has to the situation.
Oh, it's the whole thing. We come down, we get chalupas, we talk about shit.
Are you asking me to meet you at a Taco Bell?
I mean, you could if you want. I'll let them know you're coming. Oh, it's not in the greatest neighborhood either, so I wouldn't bring your limo or your helicopter or anything like that.
I don't have a helicopter.
I thought all you people had hell. Anyway, yeah, the Taco Bell and I'll shoot whatever the address is. Eddie.
The Taco Bell on Congress, Fond du Lac, and 60th. It is smack dab. It's the Capitol Hills location. It's a strategic location because it was one of the few places spread across the city that was built during the late 50s, early 60s during the nuclear armament scare. It is a fortress, that location. The stores inside of it are actual full-fledged buildings of their own freestanding. There are catwalks and paths into that building that you are sure aren't on any maps. You are very sure that with it being such a landmark in the center of the area that Newton has declared as his barony, oh yeah, there will be examples made. And thanks to his poor choice in domains, you are sure that the Anubi and the gangs of bully boys that they bring to them won't need to be quiet about it. They won't need to be calm, cool, and collected. They won't need to work with the public. You are sure that they have pulled many of their police contractors, both knowing and unknowing. You are sure that they have shut down most of their security watchers to keep an eye on keeping the media and other individuals out of the area. You are sure that right now that they are probably closing down a quarter of a mile, maybe a mile around that location. All of the bought and paid for security guards and sentries are probably being repositioned around that location to make sure that at the least indication that someone who does not belong, i.e. county sheriffs, state sheriffs, or anyone else that could bring attention to what they're getting ready to do, is distracted, deterred, or otherwise mitigated.
So yeah, it's just past the 145. It's across the street from the KFC. You can't miss it. I'll let them know you're coming.
All right, I'll be there in 5 minutes.
Yeah, all right. I'll I'll see you then. And she'll just hang up.
And as soon as that conversation's over, Aaron will yell over to his ghoul, "Get the keys, we're going."
Of course, boss. I gotta ask you.
Yes.
I had thought that you instructed them better than this. I know that I did. And I know very little.
We can only do our best to guide them. What they choose to do with what we teach them is their discretion.
It is a shame. He did have a certain style.
He did. We will surely miss him once he is... Well, let's not kid ourselves. He's probably not going to survive the night.
It is most assuredly definitive that he would not survive the night. Now, the question remains as we make our way through the evening with every member of the coterie arriving in their own time, roughly to the same area. We slide along to Mao, who is arriving in the area. This building has been calling to you. It has been whispering in your dreams. There's so much history unexplored. Now, kidding yourself though you might, and say that your show is just for the kindred who know that it exists, that's not true. Your podcasts, your Patreons, there are hundreds of urban explorers who follow the paths that you blaze through the city. And that's with you editing the content to make sure that no one knows exactly how dangerous some of these places are. Some of the places that are too dangerous, you don't even actually get up. But being prepared, being dead, means that there are not many places that are completely unsafe for you.
It's true. Sometimes being dead is a blessing.
And therein lies the problem. Being dead can be a blessing. Even with all the sentries, cameras, police, and everything else that is part and parcel of the fabric of Milwaukee, there's an added protection that you have being dead. The tight, confined spaces, the wet, the slick, the damp spaces, the places that literally are unsafe structurally that you have explored are relatively less so. Limbs can't be completely destroyed because, okay, it falls off a few days after it's being crushed or been crushed or you've had to tear free. You can mend it. You don't need lung capacity, so you don't need clean air in a lot of these places. You can submerge through flooded areas and find what lies on the other side. You can reach great heights and great depths without fear of something falling on you and you falling on something else. Up to a certain height, of course. And this place, you are sure is a treasure trove of forgotten. You are sure that there is, well, you are sure that this place will be definitive. It is roughly an eighth of a mile. It is roughly large enough to be considered, well, you could put full-fledged parking garages inside this space. And it is an untold number of sub-basements and spaces underneath that have not been explored since God knows when. And as you're listening to DJ Barth, several things become crystal clear. You don't know who the fuck, what stupid idiot, what asshole would be arranging a private rave, because as far as you know, there's no Club Garusha in Capitol Hills. As far as you know, there's nothing in Capitol Heights that quantifies even a greasy spoon level of sophistication. In fact, if you're being completely honest and you're brushing up on what little you remember from the notes, you know that the area as a whole is within the radius of all of the people that have been massacred in Washington Heights. You know that it is in close proximity, very much so, to the official Hakata domain. Well, one of them at least. There's another on the far north side, and there's another one far south, but it's the most centrally located Hakata domain because it is a swirling vortex, oftentimes, of souls that reach across the shroud. And that's all fine and good. You typically get to ignore them because you know that they're there. You know where to dip, duck, and dodge and not be pulled into that morass. But there's no Club Garusha in the area. There's nothing. Or there shouldn't be.
Well, it's a shiny new mystery. One to investigate.
Excellent. Getting to Capitol, i.e. 190, and moving around the building, you need a place to park. Now, do you try to park west of the Capitol Hills building, or do you try to park north and east of 145 so that your car is a little farther away, but there's more neighborhoods northeast than directly west across 60th or south of Capitol, because south of Capitol, while the neighborhoods aren't that great, they're a little bit better. People notice strangers. East is, well, you know, take the bad with the good. There's a Marshall High School there, and high school kids are known for their good conscientious behavior with strange cars left unattended.
She would probably park a little bit northeast then. She's, deciding just to blend in as best as she can.
Yeah.
It's a Jeep. It's an older Jeep, but it's not a terribly horrible Jeep. It's still in nice condition, but it's old. Kind of beat up.
Yeah. Kind of like Charlie's no good truck that you've seen them moving around the city. You're not sure how they keep it running. You're pretty sure that somehow they've managed to find a way to bridge the gap between undead and mechanical and literally drip vitae into the gas tank of that old gas guzzler that they managed to keep moving somehow. As far as you remember, you are pretty sure that they actually have a household doorknob as the latch for that passenger door. You're sure that's what you remembered? And as you make that turn off of 60th to make it around the cul-de-sac back across 145, you are sure that Taco Bell, that is one of the few places open serving the mortals at this point, which is a stone's throw from Capitol Hill, that in that parking lot is very much Charlie's truck, the monster that is more kindred than truck. There's no way that a truck like that could still be, or should still be operational, should still be on the road. But Charlie keeps it going. And it stands out because despite its age, despite how beat up it looks on the outside, the few many rust spots and the patched together work, when it starts up, it doesn't cough and sputter or nearly die. It just starts up through some miracle. But you're sure that Charlie is standing next to a very, very nice sedan. You're sure that that's Charlie because that's the monstrosity that they drive.
Without even skipping a beat, she has been distracted from her explorations, and she'll go bound over to meet Charlie.
Cassandra, as you're explaining the wolves that are going to eat your face, that are going to bite your head off and devour you like you were some, well, gingerbread man being tortured by some midget. Mal, would you be so kind as to describe yourself as you make your approach?
So yeah, she's wearing discreet black clothing, kind of tight. She is super cute, but not too cute. She has brown hair. She's short and 5'3". Super skinny, almost wayfish. And even though she's cute, she has kind of an aura about her. She's a little scary.
Cassandra.
My turn to describe myself?
Yes.
Cassandra is about 5'5". Is kind of a part brown, part gray skin tone. Short, bluish brown hair with flowers in it, in a way that resembles a headband. Greenish gray eyes, and part of the outfit that's visible from inside the car looks to be a black blouse. And as she's fumbling through the cards, she draws one and places it on her dash. The particular card is 5 of Swords in the upright position.
She will arrive and it's like, "Hello, Charlie. Oh, hey, I remember you. You gave me a reading once. Cool. Strange to see you here, Charlie."
What, at Taco Bell?
Yes?
I freaking love Taco Bell. That she takes a deep inhale with her hands waving towards her face to get, the smell in her nostrils quicker.
Amalia will look at her for a second, like, I guess there is no accounting for taste.
Well, we didn't all grow up rich, so when you've eaten roadkill, Taco Bell is like fucking the Brown Derby, man.
I suppose that's fair.
So is everyone here to see the people who are under the Taco Bell, or is this just like some strange sort of coincidence, or...
Oh, no, I was here to go exploring a building, and then I saw you over here. Or rather, I saw your truck, and then I saw you. That's a very distinctive doorknob. I would recognize it anywhere.
The old one rusted off. It works. It's good. It's probably better than before.
somehow, in having gotten rid of the latch that was there, which was that big old school wide stainless steel with that thumb button that was wider than any person's thumb except for your great grandfather who has hands the size of horse hooves. Now that there's an actual turn knob there instead of that big push that rusted off, it does work better. The latch doesn't get stuck, the button doesn't get stuck depressed, and you have to fiddle with it and wiggle it, and finally just take out your knife and just hack your own car, well, truck. But it is distinctive. And as you two are speaking, Cassandra's eyes begin to leak potato-tinged tears for a split second as the world opens up to her in a way that she refuses to accept as natural to her. The sky splits open. The ground beneath your feet falls away. Still sitting in the car, she falls. You all fall. 3 stories. 4, till you come to a final stop in the dark. A singular shaft of moonlight lighting everything around you. And that strange, eerie glow that lets you know that it is in fact a dream, but yet it's far more real because it is in fact a dream. There in the distance, just outside of your view, you see those amber eyes popping open one after the other. You count 4 mixed in with the shambling horde of a dying young kindred. Their fangs extended, their fingers twisted as if they were caught in the midst of death. And those sets of amber eyes circling around in the dark, picking off one after the other, using the civil war of North versus South, young versus old as cover. And amidst them all, just as the battle is about won for the shadowy wolves, pulling each member into the dark, just as they're closing in on you 3, their noses filled with your scent, like something out of a action movie. Thor, his hair flowing behind him, bright red cape, comes following down the shaft of moonlight as if it is in fact something solid. His 2 axes in hand. Behind him, the Riders of the Storm, the Wild Hunt. They land their icy blue cells, their veins filled with all of that high magic elven energy, causing every drop of blood that they spill from themselves to seem blue against the night light. And everywhere that it touches, flowers grow. The flowers growing almost instantaneously. And from those flowers, dancing spirits reaching out to you all. And just as Thor has the battle nearly won, just as the Wild Hunt have finally nearly felled the wolves change. No longer quadrupedal, no longer growling and snatching at the dark. They grow. Suddenly, the bipedal wolves are now 8, 9 feet tall. Claws long enough to stab through 2 men at a time, all made of shadow. And just as they close and finish Thor, and you know that the end is nigh, Malia, you know a seizure when you see one. You know Cassandra is having a seizure in that car.
He will look at Cassandra, look at Charlie. That's unusual. I've only ever seen mortals do that.
I mean, it is Taco Bell and all, but she can't be leaking out here.
That's only part of it. Amalia will, just try to hold her up. What she's tried to do with her brother a couple of times, even though he has, his other people to help with that. Just kind of like snap her out of it, because this is weird especially for vampires. We're not supposed to do this.
And just as you know that the fight is over, it's all ending, but there's one silver thread up way out. There's one path free. You hear, we're not supposed to do this. And Amalia is there holding you. Speaking of being held, Kai, the walk was invigorating. It was a bit of a letdown. There weren't any clear-cut signs of criminal action. There were no signs of kindred. There's none of the usual police rousting folks, doing the stop and frisk. There's nothing to entertain you save your own thoughts. And the fact that the night seems a little cooler than it should be at this time of the year. When you get to the beginning, the mouth, the entrance to the little clubhouse that the kids have taken for themselves, you see Cassandra convulsing. You see Amalia holding her, and you see Charlie watching on, kind of frowning, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. And mainly, most importantly, you see that pea lime green monstrosity that Charlie drives. The thing that stands out about it is the fact that somehow it doesn't stand out.
What in the world are you fucks doing? Oh, well, he'd walk over and then say that. I should clarify. Yes.
Cassandra, as you're coming out of it, Amalia holding you with Charlie looking on, you see Kai's albino eyes staring at you. And it's impossible to see his red eyes as anything other than supernatural. You know that it's not, but it is hard to not see him, especially when the light catches them, causing them to glow as if there's some animal staring out of his face. Yeah, it's real hard not to make that connection.
What the literal hell there, Jeepers Creepers? Everybody coming to Taco Bell tonight.
What the fuck is Taco Bell?
Taco Bell, right there. The bright light.
Now, mind you, Kai says this with the light shining down on him, outlining him as if he's lit by spiritual light from inside, with the Taco Bell, the taco on one side of him, the bell on the other.
Okay, I'm back, I think. Anyways.
Yes, you are back.
Here, sweetie.
Cassandra comes to and looks around.
Here, sweetie. Here's a bandana.
Here's the sentence. A great threat is coming. And she shows the 5 of Swords card.
I don't play Pokemon.
This is the 5 of Swords. In the upright position, it refers to conflict, disputes, hostility, and aggression. I have seen the god of thunder battle wolves and lose.
Speaking of lose, Max, as you ease to a stop, having traipsed across most of the city trying to find a decent member of upstanding society to get what you need, which is simply Teddy. Which is fucking Teddy. How hard is it? You can't get through to Lucina, and then you need to get through to Teddy. They're both kind of upstanding members, and here you are, easing into the parking lot because you need to get out and get inside and convince them to let you use their landline so that you can again make another call and try to reach someone. And normally you don't associate with the paupers. Normally you don't come this far north, east of good, proper kindred society, but you know that there's another 10, maybe 15 minutes to make the drive over to near the airport to Teddy's auto body shop. But you need to call. You can't just show up unannounced. And this is about the one place you know that will be open this late. You never let anybody know that you know that it will be open this late. But there were many times during your living days where, unfortunately, what passes for food at places like this was the only food you could get. And it goes surprisingly well with a nice bottle of Kendall Jackson Chardonnay. Again, not something you would tell anybody you've actually been forced to drink.
Pulling over to sitting in the car, just kind of breathing, and yet not breathing because smell is just the smell. It's what drives it, just the smell itself.
It's not even cilantro. It is a lemon washed parsley that they say is cilantro. It is definitive in the fact that even people who have that gene that makes cilantro taste like grass or soap can eat Taco Bell and never have that feeling, even though everything is doused in what they say is cilantro. And with your nose being as sensitive as it is, your senses being heightened as they are, you know that it is not cilantro. It is lemon washed parsley that they use and claim is cilantro.
I take a handkerchief, spray it with cologne, keep it in my left hand, get a nice deep breath, get out, and I'm going to try to make this as quickly as possible. I don't try to walk towards Taco Bell to hopefully get a phone call, and then I can leave.
Puke. Literally. That's the closest approximation that you can remember what that color is called. You know, it's like Pacific Seafoam Green or some shit like that they named ridiculously those colors from the late 60s, early 70s. But the closest you can approximate it is puke. It's that repulsive green that makes you not see it and see it at the same time. And your gorge rises, and you look for a place to step to the side to calm yourself and not be bombarded with that monstrosity, that huge tank-like boat that is that truck. At least you hope it's a truck and not an actual tank sitting there that is that puke green color. You bring the handkerchief to your nose and look for a place to focus besides the monstrosity that is this Taco Bell. Now here's the thing. This Taco Bell has been around long enough that it is in fact a solid brick building. It's not one of their new prefabs. It doesn't have the huge, wonderful, bland, modern aesthetic. No, it is the very much old school with the bright, dark brown roof. It has the wide, expansive taco, big bell in the middle, bell as its iconography. It is clear that this building has not been updated in its stylings for at least 2 decades. It is clear that this is one of the foundational Taco Bells, that it takes pride in its kitschiness because, well, that's all that it has. The old saying that pride goes before a fall, being proven very directly. And as you look away from the puke green tank sitting parked there, you watch as a bus moves east along Congress, and there's a car with 3 women. It's a nice car. It's surprisingly modern. It probably costs more for that particular sedan than that bus you just saw moving east over Congress.
I walk over to the women. Perhaps one of them have a cell phone. Then I could maybe get out of here a little bit faster.
As you close on the women at the vehicle, you realize that there's another gentleman standing with his back towards the Taco Bells, addressing the women at the car. His bright red eyes are demonstrably hard to forget. You know that it's because of albinism, but it doesn't stop you recognizing Kai as the supernatural boogeyman that he is. Dressed all in black, for a split second, even with your heightened senses, he was difficult to see. He was outlined by the light of the restaurant, but otherwise, he was standing so still that he became invisible.
I see. Looking up towards everyone, but making sure I give that person a very wide berth.
Oh, hey, look, isn't that Cassandra? Talking to the person you don't actually recognize. You recognize everyone, or at least you claim to. You tell everybody you do. Truth of the matter is, you don't recognize Charlie. She's dressed in the homespun manner of, well, to be perfectly honest, your servant's servant. Those jeans are 2 seasons ago. That top, while nice fitting and cute, is still, unfortunately, several seasons out of effective stylings. She's not wearing any real makeup. And that hat, trucker hats went out in before you even came of age.
Greetings all? Question mark? Charlie, nice to see you again.
All right, y'all. I'm going inside. There are too many of us here now.
You are officially at the limit. One more kindred arrives and you quantify as a mob.
And Cassandra is well aware of this as she looks around and says, "Perhaps it's best that I take my leave." And she starts to get back to her car and fires it up, but waits until everyone's out of the way before backing up and leaving.
Amalia will smile, and it's disturbingly predatory. And she'll say, "For every Fenris wolf, a Glepnir would be useful."
The fuck is a Glepnir?
It's a silken ribbon that boundeth a Fenris wolf in Norse mythology.
She'll just nod at you blankly and then turn and walk towards the back of the Taco Bell.
That makes absolutely perfect sense. There's something artistic about the pharaoh being held by something so superficially weak, something so unassumingly adamantine. And as the idea of it all settles in, you, Kai, watch as Charlie and Mo begin heading away. It is with no shock, no surprise, because the way that things have worked out for the evening, that you are standing with the person you sought at the start of the evening. Kai, your bruiser, your muscle, person who could get things happening, and you could reach out to Teddy so that you can make sure that you get back to what your night is supposed to be. Charlie, as you make it to the back door of the Taco Bell, several things fall into play. It is almost 9:10 p.m. The buses on Central stop running at 8. Literally, the last bus reaches the end of the line at 8 p.m., which means there shouldn't be any buses moving over Congress at this point. There shouldn't be any buses moving anywhere except for on Fond du Lac and 60th Street. Congress's bus, again, are supposed to be at the end of their line by 8 p.m. You just saw a bus moving east over Congress, past the Taco Bell, across Fond du Lac.
She will stop and watch that for a moment with a furrowed brow. She'll pull off her hat, push her hair back, and put her hat back on, and look over at, I guess, Tamalia that's with me.
Yes, apparently.
Y'all see that?
See what?
The bus. Them buses shouldn't be running.
So,
They shouldn't.
Not this late.
And as that,
I quickly start scanning the area to see if there's any sedans with two people in them driving around.
excellent, be so kind as go ahead and roll your wits plus awareness plus your aspects if you are using it. And as you begin slowly moving your eyes up and over the tapestry that is the night before you, as Charlie takes in the fact that that bus shouldn't be anywhere near 60th at this point. The end of the line is literally 5 miles east of where you are. Now, it doesn't seem like much, but at the average rate of travel across Congress, 5 miles is effectively 25 minutes. Which means over an hour ago, it shouldn't have been anywhere near here. And as you're thinking that it shouldn't be anywhere near there, Millie, could you describe your vehicle as you pull into Taco Bell?
Wait, what did we say she had?
A Mercedes.
Seeing as how everything is themed with her business, it is a caviar black Mercedes, relatively updated, maybe only a year old, if that. Tinted windows within the inch of the law. And not like flashy. She didn't go for like the kitted out. It's functional but classy. Kind of. So yeah, she pulls up and kind of looks around.
Easing into the Taco Bell, because it's one of the few places that are open this late in this neck of the woods. The moment that you crossed the river, you felt dirty. The moment you crossed Capitol, you felt filthy. At this point, the 10-15 minutes it would take you to get to Teddy's business, his gas station, the Amstar, you know that your car will probably fall apart from the rust damage and just the people who are robbing you with their eyes. Sadly, you do need to announce yourself before just popping up into another kindred's domain unannounced. And unfortunately, landlines are the only way to safely do so without someone snitching that you have technology, that you're using technology to contact another kindred. It's hard to imagine you during your living days living in such squalor as this, but any port in the storm, and the sooner you get a hold of them, the sooner you can get your child and get the fuck out of Dodge.
Her hand is kind of hovering over the door locks, but then she realizes if she locks herself in, she can't get out. So it's like this moment of panic in her head. Her eyes overly wide. Just kind of looking around. It's like, okay, I have to protect my child, and I'm gonna do this. So I need to get in touch with Teddy or Kai, because they would know what's going on, and then I can get out of here. Yes, that is important. And then she goes to get out of the car with her, funnily enough, pepper spray on the keychain in her hand, tucked up near her, and her little baby Gucci over her arm. And just kind of looking around.
Well, it's very good that you're looking around and you are a safe driver. That bus that just nearly has no business driving, but what do you expect of the poor in this at this particular hour? How are they going to get to work if not for the buses like that? And you step out of the vehicle, and standing there talking to a tall, waifishly thin person is Kai.
Hi? Thank heavens. I needed to talk to you, and I reached out to Teddy, but Teddy wasn't there, and they said that they would send you a message, but it's important.
And you realize that Kai is talking to Max.
Max, I didn't expect to see you in this part of town.
I would prefer never to be in this part of town, but I need to talk to Teddy. But it looks like there's a lot of us here, so we need to disperse. I'm getting back in my car. I'm running the AC to clean the air.
And Cassandra, once everyone's away from her car... Wait, I'm assuming Cassandra's already left at this point, or is she just still getting ready to leave?
She's still getting ready to leave because no one's moved from in front of her vehicle just yet. Kai is still standing there silently watching as Max and Millie exchange information. Greetings, if you will. And there's an old saying, never, mention how quiet an ER room is. Never wish someone trotting the boards good luck. You say break a leg. And never doubt how complicated things can grow overnight in the few brief flickering of an eye blink. Because gently revving the car to give the hint that you are going to leave, that you have every intention of vacating the premises and escaping, two gentlemen rolled in a lovely Audi. One looking very much as if he could take on the entirety of any team you wanted to put him against. And the other, Aaron. Ryden eases into a stop, parking so that they can easily leave the parking lot. And he gets out of the car, moving around to the other side, and opens the door for Aaron.
Much appreciated, Raiden.
Of course, but here's what I don't understand. And he pauses and he looks around, catching all the faces that are there in front of the Taco Bell, and the fact that this is a very indefensible location, and it is not in the best of neighborhoods.
I'm assuming at this point Aaron would see the others, right?
Yes.
And exactly how many are gathered that he can see?
Oh yeah, it's trouble. Either everyone is coming for a similar cause or a similar reason, or there's more afoot than could easily be pinpointed from the declarations of a mindless child.
At this point, Kai would put on his knuckles, basically. Because something definitely feels off with the amount of kindred showing up.
And Cassandra feels that too. She rolls down the window and calls out, "I really need to leave lest we incur the wrath of my betters."
Lady, you're in your car. All you have to do is push on the ignition, yet you're still here.
This is all fucked up, Mal. I'm gonna go get my gun.
All right.
And
You go do that.
And
Get
with
in my
that,
car.
Cassandra tries desperately to pull away and leave.
There's a aphorism tossed out. A powder keg. All it needs is one spark. It needs an inciting incident. The conflagration that follows is expected because it was a powder keg. But where that spark comes from is always the question. That spark in this particular case is the bus that is somehow passing going west. That spark is Cassandra. Her vision, a glimpse of the future. Parables and signs and symbols confounding the conscious mind while illuminating what could and should happen. There's a value in the enunciation of truth. It may just be your truth, but from your truth, people may be able to discern the facts at play. Without that enunciation, you're leading the blind into the meat grinder. So while things are afoot and there's trouble in the air, while the overwhelming security and feeling of safety that comes from the constant monitored state of existing in Milwaukee has fallen by the wayside this evening because of the actions of a mindful, willful youth. The conflagration and combination of kindred arriving to this space as if summoned by fate is undeniable. And as Cassandra backs and forwards in a space where most cars wouldn't be able to pull it off because it's going to take about 5 to 6 100 different minor, small movements back and forth, rocking till they can get free and drive around Aaron's car and out into the night. It is at that moment where the battle cry is sounded. As Charlie, doubling back to their truck to get their gun, realizes Max called you here as backup. Max called you in to potentially offer a second chance to some stupid, young, foolish child. Take a little blood, put them in their place, teach them a little lesson. Max would never have called you into a grand battle. He doesn't like them. He doesn't believe that they're useful. Even though the Viking always urges things to that point, they constantly raise the stakes instead of de-escalating. And it's too late to do anything more than respond to that escalation. The cries of pain echoing from the Taco Bell and the back door blowing open as kindred begin pouring out into the night, hounded and chased by members who've operated and acted with the Anubi, who have been bully boys and who have been assistant judges. And then you realize that the space is brightly lit. You realize that on the buildings not far away, there are all but private boxes having been set up behind blinds to watch the fullness of the horror that is going to be unleashed. There at the corner of 60th right at Congress, that tallest building there next to the auto repair, there's several boxes with kindred with binoculars. Grass's big, fat, pink form. And by big, I mean not in height, but in width. He's soft and pudgy, but he is one of the standing members of the Blue Blood. He has a box with his ghouls and himself, and he's watching with high-power binoculars as what is going to unfold is going to unfold. While just out of sight, on the other side of the expressway, on the other side of 145, on the other side of Fond du Lac, there at the National Muffler and Brake, is another box set with several members of the Blue Bloods. Just south of the Taco Bell, on top of Capitol Hill, there's another box set. And you notice that the bus is filled with people. You notice that across the street there, across Congress, just north at the KFC, there are all several cars, all low value and clearly stolen or otherwise obtained for the evening as kindred sit. There are kindred inside pouring up through the passages from Capitol Hill out of the Taco Bell that are going to be made an example of. It's taken them hours, the entirety of the previous night, chasing down the hunting party, and this idiot Newton drawing attention to what he was going to do before he actually did it. It takes a very long time to learn that just because you say a thing doesn't make it true. And it's a lesson that Newton has not quite yet learned. So as chaos and violence explodes into the night, the Viking leading the way, causing this to go from a smack on the wrist to a beheading. I'd like to thank you all for a lovely session, and I will see you guys next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Everyone.